This episode of the What's Happening Delco podcast is sponsored by Delco Meets for Business. Check us out on Meetup at Delco Meets, the number 4 business, and attend one of our incredible networking events. Be sure to register, and we'll see you there. What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ethan Poetic. Ethan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to diving right on in. Great introduction.
Thank you. Well, let's dive right in, Ethan. Ethan, you have an amazing story that you share, and you've inspired so many people. With our listeners in Delco, tell your story.
Before I get into the story, I want to thank Dave Berman, who allowed me to go to the Chester High School basketball games and football games with them. Also, Chuck, the one guy who mutually acquainted us together for this podcast interview. Basically, my inspirational story is the math. I'll start with math. The mathematical equation is 99% chance of death, 1% chance of life. I want to let the viewers listen on that. 99% chance of death, 1% chance of life. We're not talking about being a millionaire as a 1%er. We're not talking about learning the Rubik's Cube as a 1%er. We're talking about life and death, where time is of the essence. Time is something you can't get back. Here's how it all happened. I was helping out this nonprofit. At the time, it was called Children Deserve a Chance Foundation, later rebranded to Atalo Prep, raising money for their nonprofit by selling Deuce brand watches. Had a good breakfast and morning shift. Everything was good. I was traveling on the road. I actually left the Delco area, going into Philly, but prior to that, I ended up in a near-fatal car accident. My driver ran into an 18-wheeler head-on. He died instantly. Since I was behind him, I became that mathematical equation where I should have died within 3 to 5 minutes of internal bleeding. Because my aorta got severed, I had a concussion, a left black eye, my arm hurted. Normally when people have an aorta severed due to the seatbelt, I should have died within 3 to 5 minutes. But for some reason, I'm still alive for some reason. Because it involved the cops, ambulance, fire department, which used the jaws of life to cut the car in half. I later found out later on in life how I avoided that near-death experience in the car accidents because I learned this in watching NCIS. They did something to stop the internal bleeding, which delayed it. Delays are good. So it bought more time to get me to the hospital. Get to the hospital, they decided to do this emergency surgery. High risk. They thought I died on the operating table. They sedated me. The woman who thought I died on the operating table cried hysterically. They decided to sedate me and see if I wake up. Several days pass. After many days of prayers, I wake up twice. One in the cloud 9 state because of all the medicine. Then woke up in a more conscious state where there was that same woman who cried for me. Was the same woman who cried tears of joy at the other side of the door. And that was the day I was declared a walking living miracle.
You share the moment of that impact with the head-on crash in the 18-wheeler. How much of that do you remember, and how much have you put together based on accounts of what people have told you of the situation?
The honest truth is, I don't remember the car accident. I'm saying that because I just don't. How I found out about it was several different situations. The first situation is just someone eventually told me 3 days later while I was in the hospital, or 2. And when I saw that car accident scene, I'm like, whoa, are you sure that's me? But here I am in the hospital looking around with IVs in both my veins. I lost all this weight, and they're getting ready to put me on a feeding tube. That's one stage. The other stage is, when I wrote this book, my book is called The Inspirational Story, Ethan A. Poetic, Chronicles of Adversities, Education, Sports, Relationships, and Resiliency. I had to look at my Facebook page going back to 2011, looking at all these comments. You're a tough cookie. We're praying for you. You're still going to be alive. This is not your time. And then the other thing is, since I was on so many medicines at that time, my body was desensitized. Let's say me and you meet up at a sports bar or a five-star restaurant. I shake your hand. We order. Our nerve systems will feel the vibe of each other because our hands shook. Now, if I would shake your hand with an oven mitt, we would not feel any connection or vibe because that oven mitt represents the medicine which desensitized me. Me, my touch was different, my senses, vision, sensitive to light. And it was out of a world experience because I never experienced that type of recovery before. And then I had to look at the newspaper article all over again, look at the television report all over again, and just really feel it several years later. And I was encouraged to write my book by a Greek family called the Veronis family in my senior year of college. And it was in the midst of COVID. And it's hard to say no to people when they feed me lobster, crab legs, pour me some champagne. And that's what got me started writing my book. 4 different versions: hardcover, laminated case, softcover, ebook, audio.
Your book and you speak about resilience. Is that something you've found, or is that something you've always had, or is that something you've discovered within yourself so you could share that with others? But is it something you've always recognized, or is this something new since the accident?
A lot of things. I grew up in poverty, single parent household of 5. I was put on the IEP plan, but IEP plan is just a nice way of saying we can undereducate a student. When I was first born, one grandma believed I had greatness out of all her grandchildren. The other grandma had faith I was born with greatness. And resiliency was taught to me in a series of me seeing, people come out of poverty and make a life for themselves. Having coaches believed in me in football, track, and wrestling. Also overcoming the biggest hurdle of having an estranged father. That's a big hole in my heart I had to live with. That father wound. And, growing up, I had thick skin, but eventually I realized I was suppressing a lot of things, but channeling it through sports and video games. But eventually there come a time where I had to face the reality of, why do I got to call this guy out when he should be coming to me? But it turns out he has a father wound from his own father. So it's like a generational trauma being passed. The other resiliency is just learning like when I play video games against older men, I took my losses. But when I got older, those same older men that used to beat me, I ended up beating them. I also learned resiliency in sports, where in the neighborhood, this one guy was the fastest guy. He had the long hair. He didn't grow up in poverty. He would always win the races. He would always beat me until one day I beat him 3 times in a row because I never gave up. I became the fastest guy in the neighborhood. I became picked first, whether it be manhunt, football, basketball. And then also the other part of resiliency was, my mom wanted me to be the man child of the house because the men she were choosing were not healthy. It taught me how to grow up faster, but it came at a cost to not having a social life as a teenager and as a child where people can pour into me more. Then I would have been much greater much sooner. And as a result of that, Uh, I didn't play varsity my 10th, 11th, or 12th grade year in high school sports, taking care of my little siblings. But with this car accident and overcoming this, I realized as I write my second book, I realized by me overcoming death, I was already a winner. I was already victorious. I already beat the mathematical equation, and that's resiliency. But what I didn't realize is that resiliency started brushing off on other people the right way. And eventually, I did further my education and much more.
I imagine from time to time you've had the opportunity in a quiet moment or maybe engaged in conversation where that conversation comes up in your head or with somebody else. Why me? Why then? Why now? Why did this happen to me? How have you been able to resolve that to this day? And have you been able to really understand what your purpose in life is for people right now?
I'll just say, I chose to get in that car. I take responsibility for that. I also take responsibility for not giving up. Even when I could, I had all the reasons to give up in therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, you name it. I had other reasons I could have gave up when my two parents weren't very helpful when it was time for me to get back on my feet. How I found out was my purpose, I originally wasn't planning on talking about it. My plan was to, hey, I want to further my education. This is my second opportunity through a Tyler prep. I want to work and go off in the sunset and go about my life. But since I was working at the school program, I'm not sure if you're a parent or not. You want to know who's working with your child. So you're going to research them. When people research me, they see me another time at a sporting event, they bring out their cell phone and say, "This you from the car accident?" And that made me uncomfortable. Like, this is not what I planned. But I realized, I look back on it now, it was a way of drawing me out of my comfort zone, drawing me out of my shell, drawing me out to share the greatness, the resiliency, and the story of a lifetime. Because I didn't know I had a comeback story of a lifetime. I had no idea. I wasn't planning on being the comeback story of a lifetime. I was just planning on going off in the sunset. But I realized having those conversations with people led me to be more comfortable to talk about it now. And in the years past on television, radio, podcasts, newsletters, magazines, you name it. And it got to the point where I graduated from college in the midst of COVID, had my own celebration independently. Then I celebrated my 10-year anniversary. I was comfortable speaking that. Then I was featured on the front page of the Lancaster newspaper. All the parents start showing their kids my story. And then when I got featured on television, WJL in Lancaster, parents showed their kids the story again. And when I would show up to work as a building assistant, kids would run up to me, hug me by the legs, grabbing my hand. A couple of kids saying I'm their new father because their dads are not in their life. And it just really touched me to the core. But I realized with that purpose comes, responsibility, because it's not easy being a walking living miracle. It's not easy being seen in a different light in a photogenic lens. That's why I end up becoming a mental health advocate, because I've proven that I did the work on my own mental health, counseling, therapy, talking to other people, but understanding my truth and being comfortable in my truth and sitting in the truth to the point where I can encourage other people to overcome their own life adversities, wounds, scars, trauma, and let go of things you're not meant to carry internally and externally. And then you also have to evaluate your circle. And, I'll say real briefly, there was a time where, somebody really did make a decision that disappointed me, hurt me to the core. But I realized as a mental health first aider, which I'm certified, I had to apply that in my own real life. And eventually, me and her had a couple of conversations and said our apologies, reconciled, hugged, and she always kept the door open for me when I didn't want to be a friend. But I realized she saw the value in me. She saw the aura in me. She saw the greatness in me. And eventually, we became friends again and much more.
You're an inspiration. You motivate people. Ethan, who motivates you? Who inspires you?
I can say growing up, Deion Sanders, when he was playing football, I like the Flash. I like how he's the punt returner, wide receiver, kick returner, and defensive back. And the other side of football, Barry Sanders, I like his humble approach. That's what inspired me to play running back. Where when he scored a touchdown, he humbly gave the ball to the ref because he acted like he'd been there before. And that's how I approach life because I act like I've been there before in networking events, private events, public eye, I act like I've been there before. There's also Steve Harvey, a guy who grew up in poverty, became a success story as a comedian, actor, philanthropist, and has started his own nonprofits to help out inner city youth and much more. Then there's Eric Thomas, who was a high school dropout, who ended up becoming one of the most inspirational speakers around the world. You can look at Tony Robbins. He'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I could go on forever and ever, but eventually there's also the one moment in my life as a teenager where a guy did fill in a void in my life. We bonded naturally through playing sports, video games. And I learned this quote: the key to a man's heart is to his stomach. I was cooking for my siblings. I opened up the windows. He came in after work. His wife at the time didn't cook for him because she was doing some other stuff. He smelled the food, he knocked on my door. He said, "Can I make him a plate?" I made him a plate. He asked for seconds, and it meant something to him. And then one day, he said, "I'm like a son to him." And it really touched my heart because he was being sincere. He talked it over with his wife, and she approved of it. That guy ended up becoming like a father figure to me, being there when I need someone to call, talk to. I spent more time communicating with him than my own biological father. And that relationship still continues to this present day.
We've had a few minutes together to just touch on your story. Share the book again, and where can people find it?
My book is called The Inspirational Story of Ethan A. Poetic, Chronicles of Adversities, Education, Sports, Relationships, and Resiliency. People can get it from me directly if they want to contact me on social media. Like, for example, my username is Ethan Poetic, ETHAN POETIC. Then my username on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Threads is Ethan Poetic 23. I'm on LinkedIn as Ethan Poetic. I'm on Facebook as Ethan Poetic. Or you can go on my website and not only, support me through my book, but also speaking engagements. My website is called ethanspeaks.com. Again, ethanspeaks.com. I'll show you my media kit, my one pager, my television links where I got featured on 6 ABC Action News, a television station out of Reading, WJL, and last but not least, CBS 21 out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I got plenty of reviews on The Real Deal. And best of all, I make sure when you book me for a speaking engagement, you'll leave better than how you arrived.
Ethan, what's the future hold for you? What is that? Hey, this is where I'd like to see my life in 5 years. What would you like to be doing?
Well, I'm almost done my second book. It's called The Inspirational Story of Ethan A. Poetic, Part 2, Chronicles of Adversities, Education, Sports, Resiliency. It involves me confronting a man who's responsible for child abuse. One day, I decided to have the courage to find these documents down at Chester County Courthouse. Because before that, I always had this repressed memory of a crime scene, of cops and all this other stuff. When I got the documents, it told me the whole truth of why I was in learning support class because of this situation. Why I was holding on to unresolved trauma for over 30 years and my mom didn't tell me about it. The abuse didn't happen to me, it happened to other kids that I know. And I called him out. We talked on the phone, he didn't want to talk, sent him a notarized and certified letter. And he became so scared, he called me again and left me a voicemail. And he's shaking for me about to tell the truth. But it's about encouraging other people to face things, and this is something I need to face. But moving forward, besides the book, do more speaking engagements at public schools, private schools, corporate events, private events, and public eye events. Hopefully become a homeowner in the future. Elevate my business to the next level. Make a documentary, make a movie, a soundtrack. Because you gotta have music with a movie. And I got the story behind it. But ultimately, it's a matter of just continue to impact one life at a time, one connection at a time, one relationship at a time. That's all I'll say for now because I realize things happen in due time.
Yes, it does. And things that happen, we just never know. Every day is a gift. We live day to day. And the best thing we can do is live with gratitude and kindness and just really know that what we have is a miracle. And that's what you bring to us. And that's what you remind us of. And I really appreciate that.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it as well because my story needs to be heard more around the world. Major platforms or platforms like this, because I can impact one life just from someone listening to this, and that impacts one or two generations, a household, a workplace environment, education, businesses, nonprofit, for-profits, communities, and the greater good of humanity.
Ethan, is there anything we haven't talked about today on the podcast? Anything you want listeners to know more about you, or just all of the things and the focuses that you're working on?
I'm a proud uncle of two nieces and a nephew. I enjoyed spending time with them for New Year's Eve and Super Bowl Sunday. I enjoy going to sporting events, going to networking events. I look forward to continue this weather. Hopefully gets warmer outside. I'm ready to be active again, not just be in the building or in my home all the time. Because nothing like breathing fresh air, walking around, and being able to see people you haven't seen in months. Because the difference between being on social media communicating or video chatting, when you get to see someone in person, you feel the essence of them, the vibe, the energy. Um, Other than that, I would say my business is 5 years strong, starting this summer. March 19th is my 15-year anniversary of Welcome to Miracle. It's a milestone of a lifetime. I've come a long way from the hospital bed to graduating college twice, receiving many accolades and awards. For example, I'm the first in my family to get recognized at the Pennsylvania State Capitol Complex with the Award of Excellence. First in my family to be awarded the NAACP Award, Lancaster Branch. First in my family to become the distinguished alumni of Harrisburg Area Community College at the Giant Center. I'll say one more award, and that'll be, let's see, I am the first in my family to receive, let's see, I forgot this one. Oh, it was award of overcoming adversity from Millersville University. Both colleges didn't even know about my story until they saw it in the newspaper and on television. And it was Dr. Teresa Russell Loretz, the same person who wrote a foreword for my book. I was invited onto this Zoom meeting. I was sitting in the background, and then when she saw my face show up, it was time to speak. She told me right on the spot, I'm going to make sure you get an award for overcoming adversity because you could have asked for extra support for college for what you overcame, but you didn't. And I didn't know for me overcoming that near-death experience, I could have asked for more support. I had no idea because I was going to college, working 1 to 2 jobs at a time all year round and making it work. Also, I'm the first in my family to receive a proclamation declaration ever from Lancaster City Council. And then in Coastal, I'm the first in my family ever to receive a letter of recognition from the city manager and the council members ever. I'm the first in my family to ever throw a first pitch at 2 baseball games, one in Reading, one in Lancaster. And with this 15-year anniversary, I'm going to be throwing out the pitches again at a college game, another baseball, 2 more baseball games. There's probably going to be some me being back on television, radio, magazines, you name it, because 15 years is a milestone of a lifetime that you cannot ignore. Because how often you get to say, how often on the count of your hand you get to say, how many people did you hear graduate college, overcame death? And you only got one, and that's me. And I'm not bragging, I'm saying that humbly because look how far I came in those 15 years. I earned every year celebrating the life of that journey.
Ethan, this has been a gift for me, and I am grateful to Chuck the Wine Guy for connecting us and having this opportunity for other people that may not know your story like me to hear your story, to get to know you. I hope one day you and I get to shake hands, and not only that, speak in person and just, have that moment. I know from our conversation here, there are going to be more experiences of a lifetime. There are going to be more proclamations, but more importantly, you are going to touch more people's lives and you are going to impact them and make them better and improve them. And there's a moment in time when we don't realize how our lives make a difference. But the good news is you get to see it every day, and some people never get to see it in a lifetime. So I am so grateful for your time tonight. And as I said, I look forward to meeting you in person. And one last time, for people that want to learn more about your story, what's that good website for them to go buy your book?
Website is called ethanspeaks.com.
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 Awesome, Ethan. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and you're very welcome.
Hey, it's Rich. Thank you so much for being a listener to the What's Happening Delco podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about the people and businesses in our community. I have been a real estate agent for over 25 years, working with first-time home buyers to last-time home sellers. As a listener of the podcast, my gift to you is a complimentary 1-year American Home Shield home warranty. This is for buyers and sellers that I help. If you're looking to move anywhere in the United States, I have you covered with an amazing network of real estate agents. I look forward to hearing from you. My direct line is 215-313-3777, or you can email me at rshaneremax@comcast.net. Oh, by the way, I am never too busy for any of your referrals.